What's up, Em?
Um, so for you, seeing Leote in the leadoff spot for the last handful of games, what have you seen from him, and what more do you want to see from him?
I've seen a lot. I think I've been really impressed. I think we all have just kind of the poise that he kind of plays with, the preparation. You know, when I see in-game kind of adjustments like he made yesterday. You know, he sat on a slider and hit a homer. You know, those are little things that he's still having quality at bats, and I think teams are going to make him swing the bat. I know that during our alternate site slash our camp before the season started, he was walking a ton. Guys controlling the strike zone. I think as a younger player, a lot of teams, maybe Tejeda is a little different because he's come on the scene swinging the bat. They're probably going to not throw him strikes. Whereas Tavares, they're going to attack him. They're going to make him swing the bat until he proves that he can do what he did yesterday and start hammering some baseballs. And once he starts doing that, then I think you're going to see the true kind of leadoff hitter come out of him, because he does. He controls the strike zone. He's got power. I mean, he's kind of like a multi-threat guy, because he can run, he can hit for power, and he controls the strike zone. It's kind of what you want out of a hitter. So he's been impressive though, just every day. I talked to him. He seems like he's, like I said, a very poised, very under control with what he does, and he's very smart, very cerebral when he talks the game. It's just really impressive, honestly, all the way around. And you see what he does in the outfield, obviously.
In talking to Isaiah yesterday, he was, alluding to the fact that, some of the younger, older guys like himself need to step up, do more. And he wanted to, talked about taking on more of a leadership role. Have you seen that from guys like him trying to kind of carve their way out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I'm obviously, pushing him on that. Not so much in, speaking up, yelling at guys, and not that kind of leadership, obviously, which they have, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways, especially in our meetings. And they're obviously being a lot more vocal in how we're going to attack guys. And, it's a more team-oriented effort in that regard, because obviously they don't want to lose. They're tired of losing games, so they're trying to find a way to step up and figure out a way to win games right now. And Kiner kind of falls in that category. He's a competitive guy, obviously, and he can't stand losing, which I can relate with, and I think we all can. So whether it's just showing how we're going to prepare, going out there early, doing stuff, whether it's in a team meeting or in his pregame prep, in the cages, like really trying to figure out a way to solve this thing, and personally and as a team. And I think the more they talk about it as a group, the more that you see that effort on the field kind of shows as a team. And you just see it the last couple of days. I felt like our bat quality was better, 1 through 9. It was like one after another. Like they're starting to believe, okay, if I do this, the next guy's going to do that as well, and we're going to keep putting pressure on them. We're still missing a big hit at times, but I like what I'm seeing a lot better than what we were doing before.
I may be reading too much into it, but it seemed like for Colby might have been on the verge of, maybe, I don't know, replacing him in the rotation, but that might have been a possibility. How big was that last outing for him, and how important is it for him to kind of duplicate?
Yeah, I think the last couple, obviously, he was really good. So, just the one thing about Colby is he's relentless. He doesn't, he's competitive. He just wants to find answers. Even on the field, even when he's in the midst of getting hit, he comes back and he can talk about it. You can tell he's not happy about it, but at the same time, he comes back and he can speak, logically during the heat of the moment, which is really hard for a younger player, especially a younger pitcher. A lot of times you see them, they look like deer in the headlights, and you're like, okay, we got to talk to them about this tomorrow because they can't get through this. But Colby's different, man. He's just, a lot of people have said it, a lot of our older pitchers have kind of called him this. He's like kind of an old soul. The way he prepares and talks about the game, he's pretty good. And, I'm not surprised by the success. I knew he would be open to some change and to say, okay, I got to use my pitches more. I got to use both sides of the plate. I can't be predictable. So he's taken all that criticism to heart and said, okay, I got to make a change. I got to do something different. And he did. And he went out and executed it. And he's been really good the last 2 outings, and I expect him to be good today.
Thanks, Woody.
Other questions, please raise your hand. Let's go to Chris.
Follow up on Leote. Obviously, COVID in 2020, but from what you saw at the very beginning of spring training back in February to now, what's the biggest thing that Leote's improved on?
I saw a lot then. Honestly, I think we were all kind of shocked when he came into camp. I got to see him obviously in Dominican. I saw him obviously last year. Got to meet him and shake his hand. His hands are twice the size of mine. He's got giant mitts, but he's it was just honestly the poise that this kid carries himself with. Even off the field, you just talk to him. He's, like I said, he's very cerebral. He's very smart. Loves to talk about the game, but he obviously plays with an athleticism that's, pretty elite. You see the speed, the things that I saw last year is, like I told you guys, from a swing standpoint, it looks a lot better now. I think that's the thing that's improved the most to me. He's always kind of controlled the strike zone, but his, bat to ball, there was a lot of weak contact out in front last year. I know that was the biggest flaw that he had, that, he's trying to keep that front side, stay in there as long as possible. And he's really worked hard at that. I saw it in Dominican, when I went out there, and then I saw it, in spring training this year, and I saw the drills that he was doing that was really trying to clean that up, because his path, his ability to square up a baseball is pretty elite. So, if he can get himself in a better position to do it more often, then you're starting to see the results. And like the homer yesterday, he's able to stay on breaking balls. He's got more adjustability. There's a lot of things that are positive, obviously, with him. So, but his mindset, it's exactly what we're looking for. Honestly, he's hungry. He's driven. He wants to learn. He wants to improve every day. He's asking questions. He's doing all the above. And he's playing obviously at a high level. So I can't wait to see, it more often. It's just, that's my, I guess, test to him. You got to do this every day. This can't stop for the entire career. You're going to be a great player if you do it.
Talking with Kiner yesterday, he mentioned a lot of the younger guys needing to be aggressive to kind of test their limits, test their ceilings. Is that something you guys are preaching with all of the younger guys from a management perspective?
I think so. It's tough because you obviously want to test your ceiling. I totally believe in that, and I don't like putting a ceiling on a player. And I think that their mental capacity allows their ceiling to go higher. And I've told a lot of our younger guys that your physical ability sets your ceiling, according to the outside world, and your mental ability kind of pushes that higher. I talked to Guzzi a lot about that. Kiner, obviously, Solak, all those guys. It's what you allow yourself to think about and be able to accomplish, like what you believe. Honestly, and Kiner probably falls in the category. He believes he's going to be a superstar. You know what I mean? And listen, there's a roadmap to get there, but you can't go from 1 to 10. Like there has to be, growth that gets you to level 2, 3, 4, whatever, to get to that highest level that you can achieve. So I don't like to put a ceiling on guys. Obviously I evaluate them and I say, okay, this is what I think this guy's going to be, but I love it when guys prove me wrong. And that, innate hunger, desire usually does prove people wrong. And I've seen it throughout my entire, career in coaching and playing. And we want guys like that. And that's who we're kind of targeting. And guys, obviously, we have up here have that.
All right, thanks.
Go to TR and then Sam.
Chris, you have a doubleheader on Saturday. Do you know who your second pitcher is going to be behind Colby?
I don't know yet. We're still kind of talking through it.
I understand. Is Eichhoff an option? Is he stretched out?
No, I don't know if he's fully stretched out for that, but he could be an option.
Okay, here's my question. I'm curious. What would be better for the Texas Rangers? For a guy like Jared Eichhoff to make that start, or a kid out of alternate camp who's stretched out like Cole Winn?
Depends on if we think, obviously, Cole Winn's ready for that. Probably Cole Winn, but if he's not ready or we don't want to start his clock, then obviously that would be the difference. I think you can look at it both ways. I'd be interested to see Cole Winn, but I don't know if we're going to do that just yet.
But the other thing is, a guy like Eichhoff could fill in next year while you're still building Cole Winn and Vanesco and you know the names down there.
Yeah. I don't want to rush those guys, obviously, if they're not ready. I would love to see them. I love putting guys in situations like that. I don't care how young they are, but at the same time, we do have to develop. There's certain things that we've obviously noticed from our younger guys that we want to, we're asking them to do, which they're not ready to do yet, when it comes to execution. So I would like to make sure these guys are developed a little bit more. If we feel like they're ready, then bring them up. But if we don't feel like they're ready, I wouldn't want to rush them.
The last thing is, you guys talked in spring training, and you continue to talk about Taylor Hearn and or Jonathan Hernandez doing kind of what Kyle Cody's doing, is eventually transitioning into the rotation. I know Hernandez has been great. How do you guys feel about that right now, about Hernandez and Hearn's long-term future? Is that something that's on the burner?
Yeah, it's something obviously we talk about internally. With Jonathan throwing as well as he has this year, it still kind of burns in the back of our mind, like, can this guy be a starter? Because his strike percentage is so much better. I think in the past it scared us because to get him through 4 or 5 innings was, a nightmare because he just couldn't throw the ball to the plate. Elite stuff, obviously, but now you see him throwing the ball over the plate consistently. It's like, okay, maybe it could work. So it's something we're definitely talking about. And same with Taylor. Taylor's improving. Still not quite there yet, but he's definitely improving, that percentage. And, if he does, and he's got 3 pitches and he throws the ball the way he has, upper 90s, it's definitely something we need to consider. Probably something more we'll consider after the season to see what we look like next year.
Sam?
I'm curious with Colby, is these 3 weeks, could he win a job for next year in these next couple weeks ending the season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, I do. I think so. I think it's obviously it's not going to be you're solidified 100%, but it's definitely, putting a good impression on all of our minds. Like, okay, this guy can go out every 5 days. And like I said, I think with Colby, it's just the attitude and the mentality, the physical part of it. Can he last for 30-something starts? I mean, that remains to be seen. Nobody knows that until the guy goes out there 30 times. But his mentality, it's impressive. It's really impressive for a young kid to have, the way he carries himself and the way he prepares and the way he talks the game and open to talk about things and making changes. And you see it in his execution on the field. It's pretty rare. So I think it is. I think it is a really important time for him now, and maybe he does earn a spot for next year.
And then real quick, it's possible I missed this in the past couple of days, but does Joe Palumbo, how's he doing? Is he going to be able to come back this year at all?
I don't know. I think so. I would hope so, but I'm not sure just yet. I know he's throwing, but I don't know if he'll be, if we even want to do that at this point, but we'll see.
Thank you.
Couple more. Alex and then John Radigan.
Woody, the last time Colby Allard took this specific mound, he didn't get out of the first inning. Was there any extra amp leading up to today? I know it's a similar but different situation as Taylor Hearn, but does he feel a little bit more motivated to come out today?
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he hasn't forgotten. I know that it's obviously in the back of his mind, and he's got, something to prove today. I'm sure that's just the way Colby kind of operates. And like I said, he's a super competitive kid. He's very prepared for today. You just don't know what that's going to obviously lead to, but I just know he's going to have a game plan to go out there and execute his pitches. And if he does, I have a lot of confidence that he's going to be successful today. It won't be like his last outing, and he obviously will never forget that. I think that young players, they'll always remember that. Taylor Hearn will always talk about his first outing in Seattle. Like, it'll maybe give him a little bit of motivation, a little chip on his shoulder to say, hey, it's good for a young player to have that. Honestly, I don't want to see a guy ever fail, but we don't forget our failures. Just kind of like our team right now, we'll never forget this time period. Remember what this feels like, because when you're winning, you never take it for granted after that. And it's really hard to win a big league game, and obviously we're showing that right now.
Eli White, second consecutive game, he is not in the lineup. Is that just trying to get other guys playing time, or is there something specific to that?
Yeah, no, he'll play. I think, today was just more to get Heineman in there. I feel bad because Heineman hasn't really played a whole lot, and he's been obviously working hard. I want to see Eli just as much, obviously. He will play. So I know I looked at kind of the pitching matchups for the next few days in Anaheim, and we got the doubleheader in Oakland. So these guys are going to play. Eli, I want to see play. So he's going to be in there for sure.
Thanks, Woody.
Hey, last one, we'll go to John.
Hey, Woody, you mentioned your conversations with Ronald Guzman in the ever, changing world of trying to keep a guy going. I know it's a small sample, but he's going well. How do you approach him? Are you talking to him a lot about what he's doing right now, or do you just kind of, it's like a no-hitter and you just kind of let it go, or where are you in that coaching him up in this process?
I think listen, I think if we were in a pennant race and, and the guy's on fire and I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect this, I probably wouldn't say anything. But we're talking about developing a guy to truly understand, like how to be an everyday player. So my conversations with him have been, I'm not shy about it. I know there's a lot of philosophical, hey, do you mess with the guy when he's doing well? Absolutely. He has to be aware of why he's doing well. If he's not, then it's not sustainable. In the position we're in, I just don't agree with that. And I've always kind of had conversations and dialogue about that. Like, a guy has to be aware. So Guzzi right now, obviously I've talked to him about hitting lefties. We've had dialogue about it. I'm open about it. Hey man, you haven't hit lefties in your career. How are you going to be an everyday player? Everyday player handles lefties, he handles righties. It doesn't matter. So, having those conversations just to open dialogue, criticism, to say, hey, how are you going to do it? And so those are things that we have to continue to do with our younger players. I don't want to, pat them on the butt and say, okay, you're fine, you're doing great. And you look up and their numbers are this against this or this against that. And, we're just trying to throw it all out there at them and say, hey, if you can't hit high spin fastballs, how are we going to do that? If you can't hit, right-handed breaking balls or left-handed pitching, like how are we going to do that? I want complete players. And if we can't figure out a way, then maybe they do become a platoon player. But I'm not going to sit here and just think everything's okay and then, let them ride out. And at the end of it, not have any solutions for some of the issues they're dealing with. And Guzzi's been awesome. Guzzi's been open to it. He communicates with me, communicates with our staff, talking about this. He's facing a lefty today. So he knows my expectations. It's not about getting 4 hits. It's about having quality at bats. Are you swinging at strikes? Are you getting your A swing off? Are you controlling the at bat? I think that's what I'm looking for. That's what he knows I'm looking for.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Woody.
From Colby, or was it just not his day?
I mean, there's a few things, obviously. There has been some issues, obviously, with runners on base. He hasn't been as sharp. And, I think, 2 of the innings, leadoff guy got on. 1 inning was just a homer, but he's got to find a way to be able to execute in those situations. I saw it a little bit last year, and then obviously this year, the 2 starts back to back. He just, it's leading. And it's not from a competitive standpoint. It's not obviously he's out there competing harder than anybody, but we got to find a way for him to be able to execute, limit the 3-ball counts. It seems like he gets hurt a lot in those counts, and, he just can't put guys away and execute pitches, especially when he gets ahead of guys. So we got to find out, how he's got to be able to find a way to get away with it and get through those innings, because it's killing him.
Those numbers are, they're dramatic. The runners on and no runners on. Is it just a matter of stretch and windup, or is there anything?
It's obviously something we're looking into and we're going to dig into with him, just to try to figure it out, because obviously you're not going to pitch too long in the big leagues if you can't pitch with guys on base. It's a big part of the game, and sometimes it's out of your hands. You give up a little jam shot, or you make a great 3-2 pitch and the guy doesn't give it to you. So you got to be able to pitch with guys on base. So it's something that he's going to have to figure out.
For you guys offensively, you've been kind of harping on the being aggressive early. Are you continuing to see that in your approach, or is that on a pitcher by pitcher basis as far as how aggressive you want to be?
Yeah, I think it's pitcher by pitcher basis. I think it's more of a, obviously certain pitchers like to attack the zone. And, we know that. We know the pitchers, obviously, Marco's, he likes to use all his pitches. He likes strike one, but it's not always the same pitch. And that's what kind of makes him good. He'll throw a curveball, he'll throw a changeup, he'll tack with the cutter, fastball to both sides of the plate. So you can't, you can have an idea and a plan as a hitter against him. He's not like another guy who maybe just attacks away, consistently with his fastball. That's a different type of pitcher. But, each guy I felt like had a decent plan up there. Marco did a pretty good job against us. A lot of 3-2 changeups. I think that, a lot of guys got that 3-2 count and they thought they were going to get something different. And, he kind of pulled the string on them and got like 4 or 5 strikeouts on it.
Thanks, Woody. Appreciate it.
Other questions for Woody? TR, go ahead.
what's your assessment of what happened with Chu? What's going on with him?
Yeah, fortunately, they didn't find a break, which I was a little worried about. It's a sprain of his wrist. Hopefully, we'll see how he comes in tomorrow, how sore it is. I'm guessing he'll be down for a couple days. Optimistically, I'm hoping he can be back, in that Angels series, maybe the third game or early in the Oakland series. I'm not sure, but we'll have to wait and see how he feels tomorrow.
We talked about him at length the other day. You want him back and need him back. We all know the whole contract stuff, but you want him back, right? Even though you are where you are.
No, absolutely. I think, like I said before, he's a really good example to show our younger guys, the bat quality on a daily basis and how to prepare, the dialogue with him on a daily basis, just to understand how he goes through each at bat with each pitcher, talking on the bench. Those things are invaluable for these guys. They need to hear it.
Other questions for Woody, Alex?
Woody, ultimately, what was the decision in having Elvis in that last AB and not going with maybe Anderson Tejeda off the bench with the possible tying run at the plate?
I felt like Elvis could handle the bat. Obviously, Elvis has been around a long time, and he would kind of know what to look for and the location he's going to look for. Obviously, Tejeda's, got a lot of thump, and he could definitely have tied the game. But I just think, Elvis was a good spot right there. Just, obviously missed it, but it looked like he got a decent pitch to hit.
Thanks, Woody.
Anything else for Woody, Jeff, and then Chris?
I don't need to tell you how many you guys have lost in a row and what your record is, but how are you guys as you come home for the Angels?
Yeah, it sucks. Nobody likes winning. Nobody likes losing. It's not fun. And I know that, my message to a lot of these younger guys is don't forget what it feels like, man. Don't forget what this feels like. Cause, obviously I've been through a lot of, difficult times in a baseball career of 25 years, and it won't be the last time, but these guys got to remember, like, you remember this moment in the good times, so you don't ever take a day for granted or a pitch for granted, honestly. But we got to keep fighting. I know I keep saying that, but, there's a lot of, energy in that clubhouse. They're frustrated. But at the same time, like, we have to prepare every day. We have to get out and work every day, and we have to continue to just keep having grinding at bats. Keep trying to make quality pitches, and hopefully things will turn around.
Thanks, Chris.
Couple more. Chris.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what Jeff just asked. First 20 games of the season, you guys were 10-10. In the last 20, it's been a completely different experience. Baseball season has its ebbs and flows, but not to try to divide the season into thirds, but what's the biggest difference between the last 20 games versus the first 20 games?
Obviously we played, not great at the first 11. I think we were 3-8, and we played well for 6 or 7 games. It's just a lack of consistency. Honestly, it's just each game I feel like there's turning points where either they get a big hit and we don't, or we make a big, we don't make a big pitch and they do. I think those, you just keep looking at every game. It's, the first 3 games of the series we could have won. Obviously today we had to rally down 6 in the 9th, but we can't lose focus on those moments and keep talking about them and saying, listen, if we execute there, or we make a pitch here, or take a good at bat, a quality bat in this spot, this may turn to tide. It's frustrating for these guys. I know that. But they got to keep understanding what it takes to win and not lose sight of that, because it's easy to kind of get numb to losing. And I don't want that. I want the fight to stay there. Like I said, don't forget this. Don't forget this feeling. Don't let it go away. Let it sink in a little bit to push you a little bit the next day.
All right. Thanks, Woody.